I finally got my chance to go to the theaters and watch Venom Let There Be Carnage. This is, of course, the sequel to the first Venom movie starring Tom Hardy in the titular role as Venom. And of course, we have Woody Harrelson, who joins the cast playing Cletus Cassidy and Carnage in this film. And yeah, it's directed by Andy Serkis, and it comes in just a little over 90 minutes long. So this is a very short and what should have been a feels like should have been a faster paced movie. But yeah, it's a continuation of the story of Eddie Brock and his relationship with the symbiote Venom, and it also gives Cletus Cassidy and Carnage a new origin story that isn't the typical one that we've seen in the comics before, but still similar enough that comic readers will feel at home with the origin here of the character. So without further ado, let me get into my review for Venom 2, or Venom Let There Be Carnage. So when I first heard that Andy Serkis was going to be directing this film, I was very excited, because who better to bring these big CGI characters to life than the master of CG acting himself? And I do think that he did a very good job with the fights and the CGI in this, especially for Carnage. I love some of the effects of like when Cletus first gets kind of the bond to Carnage, just seeing like the red blood cells start pouring out of his skin, and when Carnage throws down in the prison scene, it is very well done. And I just found the movement was a lot better in this film than it was in the first one. I found the first Venom had a lot of really almost like Instagram filter effects in terms of like the scene where the Venom face pops up. I think we all know what I'm talking about when I say that, or when he goes to destroy the car. The movement always just felt off, but they definitely fixed that in this film with just the movements and the CGI just being a lot, which is way better done. But yes, this film is very simple in its premise, where Cletus Cassidy wants his freedom. So he starts giving Eddie Brock, the investigative journalist, tips about murders, just basically to get him off so he can be with the love of his life. Being Shriek in this movie, he basically just wants, they've been childhood lovers ever since they were thrown in the same, almost like boarding school for unwanted children when they were younger. And they get taken away from the same prison as each other. So yes, Cletus Cassidy gives tips to Eddie Brock in order to get him out of prison and help, or just reduce a sentence. But that doesn't go as planned when murders start being uncovered that just dig Cletus Cassidy into a deeper hole, and eventually he gets sentenced to the death penalty. So of course that's where he hates Eddie Brock in this. And the new origin here is that he ends up biting and basically tasting the Venom symbiote, and it gets bonded to him. And when he's put to death, that is when he is basically fully bonded to the quote-unquote Venom symbiote, who ends up just being the offspring of Venom. And because it's just both of them bonded to be one crazy being who we all know as Carnage, and of course it can get pretty brutal. This is a PG-13 film, so we don't really get to see the full extent as to what Carnage is doing to these prison guards, or how brutal he can be. But he doesn't care who gets in his way. He is absolutely just killing everything that comes in his way, and it is very fun and entertaining to watch. I found there's some really cool scenes and powers that they were able to give Carnage, and of course that just leads down the path of Cletus Cassidy wanting to go after Eddie Brock and Venom in this. They fight, and that's where the movie wraps up. So again, it's only 90 minutes long. This movie moves along in terms of its story pretty fast, and that's really all there is to it. There's not too much more in terms of lore of the characters of the universe. To a lot of this movie, and a lot of my problems with it, is that the first film set up a lot of banter between Eddie and Venom kind of becoming one true pair and both becoming together the lethal protector. That's what I found they were at the end of the film. But then we go straight back to square one, where I thought they were over that in the first film. They're not. It's almost like 40 minutes of them just bickering back and forth to one another, and it gets pretty tired and pretty boring fast. I feel like there could have been a lot more exposition and world building done in this film, but you can tell that's definitely not at all what they're going for. It's just more banter. We get Venom going to a rave for almost no purpose at all, just to basically say he wants his freedom away from Eddie Brock because he can't eat people's brains. Eddie's too nice of a guy to let that happen. But truly, I thought that the first movie established that both of these characters are way over that, and they had the bond that they needed to be the lethal protector. And Tom Hardy is great in this role. Of course, like, he's hilarious. He's Tom Hardy. He's gonna be amazing in anything that he does. But I truly just found that even though the bantering was funny and fun enough, it wasn't needed because of where the first movie left off with it. It was just very tired by even the first 10 minutes of having that happen. And I found too that both Shriek and Khalees Cassidy / Carnage were just, because this movie was so short, I feel like it almost felt in terms of its editing that this movie was supposed to be like half an hour or more longer, but they had to cut it down. A lot of the editing felt sloppy, and a lot of these characters were just pushed to the brink of being insane to the point where you never really got to know or care about them too much. It's kind of tough to really get into a character when they're just murdering people because they find it funny and little things like that. It's not like the Joker where it builds it up to have them be compelling or interesting. It's just they're assholes and you want them to die. And that's not what we want from Carnage. Carnage is such an iconic villain, and we've all been waiting, people 20, 30 years for them to fight together on the big screen, but no, it's definitely not the way that you wanted it to be. Of course, the fight between them is decently entertaining, but it's super quick and honestly pretty bland for what these two characters can do. And I truly find that just all this banter and bickering between Venom and Eddie isn't the way to do a Venom film. And same thing with the ratings too, this being PG-13. I truly don't think we're going to see the Venom that we all want, the true lethal protector, until they make these movies rated R and step out of that comfort zone of the PG-13 rating, because it's just too bland for what the character is. It needs to be darker. We need to have more justification for villains like Carnage, just because it was just way too tame, and the fight was way too tame too. Shriek was a very easy toss away villain, and honestly they do the same thing with Cletus in this, which is again not what anyone who's a fan of Venom and Carnage, especially when they fight each other, wants from both of these two characters. And so again, I feel like this movie was just way too short and not the story that they should have been telling to bring these two characters to fight each other on the big screen. Needed to be longer, needed to be a completely different story. So much of it could have been cut out, and just Cletus definitely needed more time on screen to shine. Woody Harrelson was pretty good in the role, but I just feel like for what they wanted to do with this film, he was miscast as their Cletus. I feel like he would have been a great Carnage and a great Cletus Cassidy, but just not for what the studio was trying to do here. So with all of this taken together, that is why I'm going to give Venom Let There Be Carnage a 6 out of 10. It's honestly, I feel like this could have been a decent film, if just with little changes here and there. But yeah, it honestly just ended up falling really flat for me. I will say though, I don't want to get into spoiler territories here, but there is a mid-credit scene. Do stick around for it, especially if you're a fan of the MCU, because they kind of do something that people have been expecting, and it could tie into No Way Home. I'm certain you all know the theories behind it, or you've seen the film already and you know what the after credit scene is because it got leaked. But yes, do stick around for that. It is, again, I wish they would have done a little bit more with the after credit scene, but it's enough to give you a quick tease and enough excitement to just be pumped about how they can bring Venom into the MCU. But if you've seen Venom Let There Be Carnage, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And if you like this review, you can check out everything else I do movie review wise and everything I do in this channel through my playlist down below, and all links are up top here. Like and subscribe, and turn the little ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do video game wise, there's a link in the description of this video and on my channel to my Twitch. I'm currently playing Back 4 Blood right now, and I also finished playing Far Cry 6, but I do a ton of live streaming on there, so you can check that out. And also in both of those places, there is a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about comic books, movies, video games, TV, music, pretty much everything that is awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community. I'll make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys. Go check out Venom Let There Be Carnage. I think it's safe to not go to the theaters for this one if you're not craving the after credit scene and things like that. It's, like I said, it's okay. So yeah, just awesome, guys.